Another scandal hits South Africa's president. Cyril Ramaphosa is accused of kidnapping and bribery. He denies the allegations, but could this latest controversy force him from power? I'm Yashni Pariachi, and this is The Newsmakers. In his first speech as ANC leader, Cyril Ramaphosa vowed to crack down on corruption and criminality. But now the South African president is accused of the very things he promised to stamp out. Arthur Fraser, the country's former spy chief and well-known Jacob Zuma ally, released a statement last week saying he'd opened criminal charges against the president. This all relates to the theft of more than $4 million from Ramaphosa's cattle farm. Fraser alleges burglars broke into the property to steal money, but were caught, kidnapped, and then bribed to keep quiet. The president says he's innocent.
Some are casting aspersions about me and money. I want to assure you, comrades, that all this was money from proceeds from selling animals. I have never stolen money from anywhere, be it from our taxpayers, be it from anyone. I've never done so. And will never do so.
The timing of the accusations have some in Ramaphosa's camp crying foul. The ANC's elective conference is set for December, and a scandal like this could hurt the president's chances of re-election as party leader. Then there's the opposition. John Steenhuisen leads the Democratic Alliance, the country's official opposition. He's demanding Ramaphosa comes clean.
He must play open cards. If there's nothing to see here, tell us where the money came from, tell us how it got into South Africa, tell us what the tax implications were, tell us all these things. But for goodness sake, don't hide behind a smokescreen that there's an investigation about a matter that took place 2 years ago, and that we must all just be expected to sit in a box until that process is finished.
The EFF's leader, Julius Malema, went even further, demanding the president step down with immediate effect.
Fellow South Africans, we gave Ramaphosa a chance to prove himself. He has dismally failed. We will treat him the same way we have treated Zuma. He must leave the office with immediate effect because he has not respected his oath of office.
Our guests today are all in Johannesburg. Phillip Dexter is a member of the African National Congress and a former member of Parliament. Mzwanele Manyi is a spokesperson for former President Jacob Zuma and the head of policy for the opposition African Transformation Movement. And Oliver Dickson is a political analyst and former speechwriter for South Africa's Ministry of Home Affairs. Gentlemen, welcome to the Newsmakers. We appreciate your time. Mzwanele, I'd like to start with you because you do believe the South African president really has a lot to answer for, and your party says he's violated the Constitution. How so?
Yeah, look, firstly, let's first understand that the president, in terms of Section 83 of the Constitution, has got the duty to respect the Constitution, to uphold the Constitution, and to defend the Constitution. This is what he's supposed to do. But the president has done none of this. There are two laws, for instance, that the president has broken. The first law is that a member of cabinet, just like the president, is not supposed to be engaging in work that gets paid elsewhere other than his own money, as it were. So the president has engaged himself in other paid work. He is on record over the past weekend boldly saying, I am a farmer, I buy and sell livestock, and all of that. I buy and sell livestock, I buy and sell game, and all of that. So that is work. Being a farmer, his occupation is work. It's something that gets paid, and therefore he has put himself in a position of conflict. He's supposed to be signing laws to manage farmers. Now, basically, he's signing laws to manage himself. He's supposed to be signing laws to manage the issues of foreign currency, and he is sitting there dealing with all these things that is supposed to be managing at the presidential level. So that's the first thing, that in terms of the conduct, in terms of Executive Members Ethics Act, the president has violated that code, number one. Number two, the president is sitting in a position that demands that when he is aware of criminality and all of that, it's not his discretion. He's got the duty to report that, and not just report it anywhere. The law is very clear. When such a thing happens, there is an official of the DPCI that he must report this to. The president does none of this. He goes and reports this thing to his own bodyguard and does not even follow up to see if the bodyguard eventually went and reported the matter where it should have been reported. So as we sit here and now, the crime that has happened in his farm has not been reported as part of the crime statistics of the country. So how is it that South Africa is going to be able to win the war against criminality if the own head of state, when there's criminality, he puts it under the carpet? I'm not even talking about the other things that is being accused of in the affidavit of Arthur Fraser, where there's allegations of kidnapping, where there's allegations of torture. I'm not even going there. I'm just simply talking about the things that are indisputable. It's not disputable that it did not report this matter where it should have reported it. Well, it's not disputable that he's earning income elsewhere other than his salary. Yes. So I'm speaking just for those two things, and those two things are enough to cause the president to account, and the president refuses to account. He keeps running away, saying the matter is under investigation and all of that, instead of taking the nation into confidence and being honest with the country. So this is a kind of rogue president that we have.
Mzwanele, many would argue that even our former president, Jacob Zuma, was also sort of a rogue president you speak of, because he is also has been accused of corruption. And Phillip, I'd like to bring you in here because President Ramaphosa, these are all accusations so far. As far as I'm aware, the National Prosecuting Authority hasn't said it's looking into the matter just yet. Should the president be stepping down? Should he be offering more information to his own party and to South Africans about what happened in 2020 during that burglary?
Well, no, look, I think the president should absolutely not step aside at this point. The law is very clear. These are allegations that have been made by Arthur Fraser, Mzwanele and others. All of those need to be investigated by the appropriate authorities. They will then make a finding and give that to the National Prosecuting Authority. At that point, if the NPA decides that there is a prima facie case to be made, then the president will be charged. But until such time, this is just allegations and speculation. I mean, I think, just the sums of money have varied from 4 million to billions of rand. The speculation that Mzwanele is making, that the president gets paid to work as a farmer. There's no record that he earns a salary, and there's nothing in law that says the president can't own a farm, or any member of parliament for that matter, or any cabinet minister. And again, the speculation that it wasn't reported to the police. Well, the president has made a statement about that. So the point is, all of these things need to be investigated. I think what the opposition parties like the ATM and others are doing is they're trying to create as much controversy around this issue as possible. The irony of coming on television and calling the president a rogue president, given where he works, it really can't escape most of us. The irony of the EFF has been accused of looting the VBS bank, coming on TV and saying the president should step down, and so on and so on. So for me, I think really, as South Africans, we need to calm down, let the police do their work, let the National Prosecuting Authority do their work. The president has said he will go before the Integrity Committee of the ANC. He voluntarily did that. I think all of those things need to make their findings. At that point, the issue will come to Parliament. And, the president ultimately must account to Parliament, and through that to the people of the Republic. So I don't think he's running away. I think he's allowing the law to take its course. And should he be answerable, he's said, and he's put on record, that he will cooperate with the authorities, and if he is found to have violated any of the laws of the country, then he must be held to account.
Mm-hmm. Oliver, Phillip speaks there about the president not running away, but I'm sure many South Africans, many of our international viewers who are following this story must also be wondering, there are many unanswered questions here. Surely President Ramaphosa needs to give South Africans some sort of an explanation as to what happened, why he didn't report this to police, why there was so much money on his farm. $4 million, if that was the amount, that's 60 million rand in cash on his farm. Answers need to be given, surely.
By the way, it's 4 million at the low end, right? Arthur Fraser's affidavit speaks about 4 million, between 4 million and 8 million US dollars having been stolen. So it could be anywhere between that, right? So 60 million would be the bottom end of that. I'm not sure why Phillips finds some of these facts incontrovertible, and I'm not sure why he thinks it's speculative. It's not speculative that a crime happened and the president did not report the crime to the police. That is a fact. It's not in dispute. Mzwanele is right to point that out. Neither is it in dispute that the president made some calls to try and track down the assailants. He had to call on the help of the Namibian president. There's a question about whether that is tantamount to abuse of power. Why has the president not taken the country into his confidence about what had happened? That is a very important question. There's nothing in law that prevents the president from sharing the facts with the country and saying, hey, here's exactly what happened. In fact, as I'm speaking to you now, he has an opportunity to do that now. The president is in parliament right now as I'm speaking to you, not addressing the matter. In fact, and there's an opportunity to take the country into his confidence. But it's not speculative either, Philip, that the president took on work outside of his presidential duties. In fact, in 2008, when Cyril Ramaphosa became the deputy president, he had said to the country that he's putting all of his business interests in a blind trust and will no longer be involved in any of his business interests. A farm is a business. Whether or not he takes a salary from it, it's a business. Yet the president seems to be actively involved in it. The president seems to be spending quite a bit of time at this particular property, as from what we've learned now. That seems to be the first transgression of integrity before we answer all the other questions around whether or not the president declared any of this revenue to the South African Reserve Bank. Did he declare any of it to the South African Revenue Services, right? Because there is a legal requirement for him to do so. And in the event that he didn't do so, he would have violated the Constitution. The question that it then begs is, should the president step aside? By his own party standards, he should step aside. Not by the constitutional standards, by his own party standards, saying that if you are under investigation for impropriety that can put the party's integrity into disrepute, in other words, corruption, money laundering, and other sorts of crimes, that you should step aside up until those investigations are concluded. The president is now actively under investigation. The Hawks, which is a specialized investigative unit in South Africa, has told us that they are now investigating the president. The public protector is investigating the president as per Mzwanele Manyi's party's request to the public protector. By my count, we will have an answer to that in 27 days from now. The president's integrity is incredibly compromised and is impugned at the moment. And the only way that we can be assured that a fair, impartial, and unencumbered investigation will take place is if the president steps aside temporarily up until this investigation is concluded.
Phillip, I know that you are nodding in disagreement to what Oliver is saying. What's your response?
Well, Oliver is doing exactly what I said is the opposition parties are doing. Everything he has said is speculative. It's not a fact that $4 million or $6 million was kind of that's an accusation made by Arthur Fraser. That needs to be investigated by the Hawk, and a determination needs to be made. It's not a fact that he was paid to work on his farm. It's not a fact that owning a farm is in violation of the Constitution. It's not a fact that he called on the president of Namibia. All of these things are accusations that have been made. The way our law works is that those accusations
Philip, unfortunately,
are
the
then
president
taken.
has made several concessions.
I'm busy
No, but the
talking,
president
please.
conceded
I
to
gave
the
you,
things you
I
say are
gave
in
you,
dispute.
I
Okay,
gave
okay,
you the
gentlemen,
respect.
let Philip
No,
continue.
he did not. The
He
president
did.
did
He
not
issued a
concede to
statement
those things.
where he conceded to
If
participating
you,
in business activity.
he did not. He conceded to owning a farm. Nowhere does it say in the
What is that? Is
Constitution
that not
that he
business
can't own a
activity?
farm.
But gentlemen,
That's your
he did
interpretation.
concede that there
That's your
was a crime that happened in
No, but
2020 on his farm.
yes, but he said that he reported it to the head of his protection. That's the SAPS. Now, your allegation is that is wrong. What I'm saying is that the authorities will have to investigate all those things. Everything you're saying is an allegation. It has not been proven. And until it's proven and until charges are filed, then the matter remains speculative. And you have not presented any evidence other than what Arthur Fraser says. Arthur Fraser, at best, is a dubious character. At best, is a dubious character. Mzwanele's interpretation of the Constitution is his interpretation. It's not mine, and it's not the legal people that we've spoken to. So all I'm saying
Sorry,
is,
Philip, you can't
you're
get away
jumping
with
the
ad
gun.
hominem attacks and straw mans.
It's
You
not
can't get away with ad
hominem.
hominem attacks and
Gentlemen,
play the man and not the
before this
substance
gets
here.
away with
No,
us, I want to just.
It's well known. It's well known who Arthur Fraser is.
Yes, and
it's not an ad hominem. He's been
and
himself
Philip, I
being
actually want
accused
to
of
just
various things.
forgive me for interrupting, but I want to actually look at the topic of Arthur Fraser. He's the former head of state security in South Africa, but allegations of corruption, of course, against him as well. President Ramaphosa moved him to another position. And Mzwanele, I'd like to bring you here in for this, because why is Arthur Fraser now making these accusations against the president, considering this happened in 2020? What should we be reading into the timing of all of this, considering that the ANC elective conference is going to take place in December?
Exactly.
Yeah. First, let's start. Can we hear me clearly now? Can you hear me?
I am able to hear you. Yes, continue.
Okay. Okay. The first thing, let's just quickly round up on the previous discussion. Number one, it is a fact that we don't have a case number on this matter. Even Philip cannot argue with that. And the fact that the reason we don't have a case number, because the matter was not reported to the police. It was reported to some official, basically a bodyguard of the president, somebody in the presidential protection unit. This is where this thing was reported. And that guy, if he knew his job, he should have reported this thing to the police. But also, the president should have insisted that he should have done that. That's the first thing. The second thing that Philip seems to be confused with, the Constitution is very clear. Both the Constitution, Section 96, he must read this, and also the EMIR Act is also
I know the Constitution.
but if you know what you should know, that members of cabinet are not supposed to be involved in other paid work. Now the president is on record. President is on record saying, "I am a farmer. I buy and sell livestock. I buy and sell game. This is a business." Why is it that Philip is trying to be stupid here and saying paid work is almost like an employee? If you run a business,
that's your interpretation, not mine.
Why is that complicated? Why is it complicated? Doing paid work for running a business. I mean,
it's your interpretation, Mzwanele, not fact.
Let me correct just a date on what Oliver said. President Ramaphosa became deputy in 2014. We all knew that he's running business, but the undertaking he made to the nation was that in order to avoid conflict, he is going to be out of business. He's going to have a blind trust running his matters and all of it. The fact that he was out of the country when allegedly, when this happened, and this got reported to him out of the country, actually betrayed the fact that he said he was going to be managing this into a blind trust. Why didn't this get dealt with by the farm manager? Why didn't the blind trust management deal with this matter? Why is it him dealing with this matter?
Exactly. Mzwanele, this is one of the many things that people are asking as this matter continues to unfold and we continue to get more information about it. But Oliver, I'd like to ask you, how is this all going to affect December's elective conference? Will the president be re-elected as the ANC president?
Look, it's a fair question to ask whether or not Arthur Fraser's timing is questionable, right? It may well be the case. In fact, I almost certainly think that the timing of Arthur Fraser bringing this to the fore is, in fact, to influence the elective conference of the party. I don't think that Arthur Fraser is doing this as, a citizen with all the good intentions, right? Let's not ignore the fact that he's also a member of the party and has a vested interest in the presidential outcome of the party. It's also not a secret that the relationship between Arthur Fraser and Cyril Ramaphosa is not very great, right? Cyril Ramaphosa removed Arthur Fraser from intelligence 2 months after taking the position as president when the ANC ousted Jacob Zuma as the president, right? So that's not in dispute. It may well be the case. However, two truths can exist at the same time. It may be the case that Arthur Fraser is trying to play politics, but it may also be the case that the president violated the constitution. The fact that Arthur Fraser is using this to manipulate party political matters does not mean we should not take the substance of what he's saying serious, and we need to do that. But what will this have a likely outcome on the president's ability to win elections? It may well just, right? In the last election, President Cyril Ramaphosa was accused of buying votes. In fact, he spent more than 400 million rands on his campaign. Internal presidential campaign, not a national campaign for his party, his own internal campaign, more than 400 million rands. That being said, the president had to form a war chest. It may well be that this $4 million US, 60 million rand were to function in the same way the last batch of money did. And if the president doesn't have access to that kind of money this time around, it means that he is severely compromised in his ability to contest within the ANC elective conference. But various elective conferences have taken place at provincial and regional level across the country. And all indications show that President Ramaphosa will be re-elected and will serve a second term if the pattern of the voting within the ANC emerges and remains consistent.
So, Phillip, as a member of the ANC, how are you looking at all of this? Do you think the president will remain the president of the African National Congress?
Well, let me say I agree with Oliver that the timing of this is so suspect. It's quite clearly a ploy, because if Arthur Fraser knew about this in 2020, he should have reported it then. So he himself is guilty of the same thing that they allege the president is guilty of. And I think you're right. If the president is found to have violated the constitution or the law, then certainly he will not be elected the president in December. But as I said, everything is speculation and interpretation and points of view by people. My point of view on the blind trust is that he did put all his business into the blind trust. I'm saying my understanding, and we've consulted with legal people, is that owning a farm is not considered to be a business as determined by the way the Constitution says, because many people own farms, they owned them before, and the fact that those farms trade doesn't mean that they necessarily get a salary from the farm. So, I think all I'm saying is that these things are a matter of interpretation. What I'm pleading for, and I'm saying we should all do, is let the authorities do their work. Let them make the findings, and if anything is found to have been violated, the president must face the law like any other citizen in the country. Those who want to speculate, they may do so. We don't agree with their interpretations. I can certainly say that, for example, this 400 million to buy votes, it's utter nonsense. 400 million rand was not spent to buy votes. I was part of the president's campaign. That money was used to hold meetings, to do all the things that one normally does when campaigning. So, all that stuff is allegations that people make. If Oliver has proof that votes were bought, let him bring the proof. But I don't think he has. That's his opinion.
Unfortunately, we don't have enough time. We don't have enough time in this program to go through this. Oliver, I'm going to have to just ask you very quickly, are South Africans, do they even have the capacity to go through another scandal? 55% of the country lives below the unemployment line. The unemployment rate is 34.5%. The crime figures get worse every year. All of this coupled with a global food crisis and rising fuel prices. South Africans are struggling, and now to deal with this, do they even care?
South Africans certainly care. They certainly do. Whether or not South Africans have the wherewithal and the bandwidth to do anything about it, depends on whether or not parliamentarians and the institutions that are supposed to enact accountability in the president do so. If they do so, South Africans will go about their days and their lives as they have been. If they don't do that, you will see South Africans register their dissatisfaction with the state in the same way they did with Jacob Zuma, and very much in the same way they did with the Ramaphosa presidency in July 2021, when the country went into darkness.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there, but Phillip Dexter, Mzwanele Manyi, and Oliver Dickson, really appreciate your insight and thoughts on this story. Thank you so much. And thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Yashni Pariachi. Take care. Goodbye.